things YouTube. So in my wisdom, I've decided to enter a competition. Foundations Revealed is an online learning community dedicated to costuming and historical sewing. Link left in the description if you want to check them out. Each year they hold a competition encouraging people to make anything from an item of clothing up to a multi-piece outfit. This year's theme is the natural world. And initially I started thinking about butterflies, and I was thinking whether to make a top or a jacket. And as I was deciding what to do, the idea suddenly came to me that it would be really cool if I could turn from a caterpillar into a butterfly. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a transformation dress. The outer part being the caterpillar, the inner part being the butterfly. So I started to think about what kind of butterfly to do. The thing with moths and butterflies is, as a general rule, a dowdy caterpillar makes a brightly coloured butterfly. But I came across the monarch butterfly, which is this beautiful orange butterfly with black and white markings. But it was the caterpillar that really made me want to go for this. That is one snazzy caterpillar. I started sketching out a series of ideas. So I wanted to have a long wiggle skirt for the caterpillar, and more of a 1950s style tea dress for the butterfly. Originally I thought about having the top bodice and the lower skirt in one piece, so that we could just fold it up over the shoulders and let it down and it would become the skirt. But I didn't like the look of this. For a start we'd have the top bodice showing on the caterpillar dress, and we'd have the bottom of the caterpillar dress showing on the butterfly dress. For my next sketch I kept the same style of tea dress and the same tubular wiggle skirt, but I thought about a cowl neck top. I thought that might be bulky enough to hide the butterfly skirt inside, but I wasn't sure about the cowl neck or how that would look. So I thought about a wide boat neck top that was quite loose fitting. It would still have enough room to fit in the skirt of the butterfly dress. And I thought if I lined the bodice with an orange fabric, it would come down and be kind of an orange underskirt. Then I could use a sheer fabric for the skirt of the butterfly dress. And I'm going to have this skirt split into 4 panels to make them look like wings. I have a pile of large scrap pieces of fabric that I've salvaged from previous projects. It's the same lightweight cotton that I'm going to use for the dress, so I'm going to use this to do my mock-ups. I've started by drafting the butterfly bodice because it's the most complicated bit. I want the bodice to be quite structured in the 1950s style, and the closest thing I had in my stash was this pattern, which I've adapted. So I've just adapted the top half from the waistline up. On the back there are 2 skirt panels and an upper bodice panel, so it's in 3 pieces. I adapted this into 2 pieces. I'm going to have my zip in the side of the dress, so I've placed my centre back on the fold, and I joined both centre back and side back with the upper part of the bodice. For the front part of the dress, I kept the side panel the same. And now for the top, I want a bit more coverage than this is offering. I originally did a mock-up of the pointed part of the bust, and instead of gathering the bust, I put in 2 large darts, which eventually turned into making 2 panels. Though I wasn't very happy with the fit, so I'm trying something else. I cut the top of the centre panel, so that it'll go straight across. I made a panel for my bust using the measurement for the largest part of my bust across the front from armpit to armpit, and I used the side of the bodice as a guide for the height and the armhole. Now I can cut out the pattern, cut it out onto fabric, and gathered it under the bust. I'm very happy with the fit of the bodice, just a couple of adjustments. I'm going to take 1 centimetre off the bottom at the back, and I've added a couple of darts to the top of the bodice, 1 on each side in line with the seams. I marked out the point where the centre front and side front joined. It came to 11 centimetres. I marked that out top and bottom and drew a straight line. I then marked out the halfway point, and each dart I pinned took in 2 centimetres, so I marked 1 centimetre on either side of the line, and I joined those up with the halfway point to make my dart. This fits much better gathered under the bust. I just need to take away about 1 centimetre from underneath the armpit, And I think we're done. For the caterpillar skirt, I've just drafted a basic pencil skirt. For the length of the skirt, I took into account the length of my torso, so that when the top part of the bodice comes down, it will cover the skirt. I cut out the 4 panels for my skirt. I take 1/4 of my waist measurement and times that by 2, and this will be the top of each panel, which will be gathered. I take my quartered waist measurement again and times that by 3, and that will be the bottom of each panel because I want the skirt to flare out. I've measured these to be 1 centimetre longer than the pencil skirt, so they'll come down and cover it. And the back panels are longer up the back, so they look like pointed wingtips. I've gathered the panels and pinned them to a makeshift waistband, so we can try this out under the bodice. The outer bodice is quite large to accommodate the skirt that it will be hiding, so I made a loose-fitting high-neck top. I took my measurements from shoulder to shoulder, as well as my hip measurement, divided by 2, and I just took the largest of those measurements and made a large rectangle. I've made a very tiny arm scythe. I want to get away with as little as possible, so it will cover the dress underneath, and to have an extra centimetre for seam allowance. Front and back are basically the same, but the collar is 1 inch lower on the front. At the edge of the collar, I've come up 1 extra inch. So when the top is on, these two will overlap, and they'll join with a clasp. It will be a clasp that can easily be pulled open, so the 2 pieces will separate and fall down. Eventually it will be gathered at the waist, but I've just put a couple of pins in it for now. And I think I might bring it in another centimetre at the shoulders. Now the real test is to try it over the skirt. Now folding this skirt up is going to be quite awkward, but I've come up with a handy invention. It's just some elastic with a safety pin attached. So I can fasten this around my waist and this can hold the skirt in place until I can pull up the bodice. And then I can just take out the elastic before doing the side up. It's too bulky. I look like a turtle. And it didn't fall down very well either. So back to the drawing board. I thought it would be better to have front and back as separate pieces so that they'd fall down much easier. I redid the back piece numerous times. I tried having the back wrapping around the waist, but it didn't hold the wings so well, and it didn't fall down very well either. So I tried taking away the wraparound piece and just having 2 separate pieces that would do up with a press stud either side. But again, it didn't fall down so well. So I made another piece for the back pattern that did wrap around, but it did up under the bust rather than at the waist. And that would come undone rather than stay attached, and in theory that should fall down much better, and those 2 extra flaps at the side should be hidden under the skirt. It looks good on its own, so let's try it with the wings. I think we're getting somewhere. Okay, I think I'm finally coming up with a design that works. There's still a few tweaks. I definitely need to find a better way of packing the wings. But I have an idea of having a 2-piece underskirt and then the 4-piece skirt over the top, which in theory should better hide the split in the torso when it's in the down position. This has been quite a challenge so far, but that's the main reason for doing this, is for the challenge. As I said in the beginning, I did think of doing a top or a jacket, but those are things I've done before. This is completely new to me, and I've never done so much patterning either. I'm used to just drafting straight onto the fabric, but with a dress like this you can't do that. You really need to think about what piece does what and how it's going to work But now I've got this worked out enough to start work on the actual dress, which is a good thing. I've been doing this design phase for nearly 3 months now. It's now mid-December and the deadline for this competition is in February. But obviously I'm aiming to get finished before that. I'm hoping for the end of January, which gives me 1.5 to 2 months. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for now. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram @SandyCreature. And most of all, wish me luck. I think I'm going to need it.